Hello. Firstly, a warm welcome to this sudden upsurge of new subscribers. That's very encouraging. This we're on what day is it? Friday the 14th of June. So it's been a challenging week. Tuesday, the water had stopped flowing to our reservoir, which means going all the way back to the end of the pipe, which is way down the valley, and it's probably about 6 months since anybody has walked there. So a lot of bramble cutting. Two of us, myself and Keith, went, and Keith set the pipe lower down in the water source, and it's flowing again fine. Then Thursday morning, I open the door and I'm greeted with bamboo porch no more, which was rather surprising. Although it was windy, it didn't seem any more windy than any other day. So it's like, well, I was going to go to Monchique and go to the store and get supplies, but I can't face, one, I've got to step over it, and I can't face coming back to see that, so I'll have to tidy that up first. Temperatures have soared, and it's like, you know what to do here, just vision it. So on the way to Monchique today, Friday, happened to see a very nice dead eucalyptus tree, which will give me the timber support I need for the fourth post, because I'm going to make the actual posts and the frame freestanding. It's one of those things. It's like there's no point getting annoyed about it, and this is leading on to the actual topic of this video. About half an hour ago, I never had any intention or any idea for a video as such. Thanks to quite a few emails and messages. Thank you, Steve. The message you sent mentioned the word sound and vision, and straight away what popped into the mind was the David Bowie song, Sound and Vision. Blue, blue, that's the colour of my room where I will live. Don't you wonder sometimes about sound and vision? What is this blue room that is being referred to? Is there anything in the external that would reflect that? If everything is a reflection for us to learn something from. The clue here is when we talk in spirituality about things from the higher perspective, the heavens. So what is this blue, blue, electric blue? It's pretty obvious, really. I know from conversations I've had this week, being told you would not believe the weather in the UK, I haven't seen blue skies. Well, here in the Algarve, not wishing to brag, but I'm just showing what is. Everywhere you look, beautiful blue skies. So that Bowie song, the lyrics, if I remember rightly, I will sit right down waiting for the for the gift of sound and vision. So going back to the porch, same as with the previous porch, same with the fireplace, same with the community structure. Vision, the end result that you wish to create. And what caught my eye to this particular fallen tree that is going to be perfect to make this fourth post that I require. What caught my eye to look at that and look at the beauty and the timing of this. That's how this all works in this reality. This is how you can interact with it, because I started taking active steps by preparing two upright of the 4 posts. So I've already initiated the physical doing, and the required 4th post that I hadn't got is now presented to me. That I'm giving you as a testimony of how this realm reality works. Which does actually lead me on to a comment I just put in one of the Errants Universe Messenger conversations. Going back to what happened right during the middle of the day, around about midday, I'm in the middle of a grocery store. I'm starting to feel faint, and it's like, no, you're not going to faint in here. This is not going to be convenient. We've got to find the strength inside to overcome it. And that led on. I've spoken about this in a video, but probably some of you have joined subsequent have not seen the particular video, and I can't even remember the title of it, but it's around about April the 6th or the 7th that I would have made that video. It was what I called not a spiritual download, but a zip file. As I'm walking round that store, it's not even a white room. If you can imagine a room with white paper, it's not even like that. It's beyond that. Blank is the only way I can describe it. There's no awareness of corners, of 3D geometry. And I was shown what is beyond the sky. I can't give you physical evidence. I can only give you a testimony of what I was shown. It's things I have talked about, but I'm repackaging it because I feel it is worth going over again. Imagine a great big sort of warehouse type building when the corrugated isn't on it. So you've got the mesh of steel girders. That is what is immediately above the sky. But it's not steel. The closest I can give you a description, if you were to see it in a physical sense, as it were, it's more akin to that nest of that alien in the Alien film. So if you can imagine, like when you get those space marines, I think it's in the second Aliens film, they're going through what looks like a cave, but it's part of the nest. So if you can sort of imagine that with that steel girder system, it's sort of above us. It is a dome. And so you've got that level. This is sort of beyond that. The only way I can describe that is we are in a Dyson shell. I totally agree with what Jason of Archaic says on this, that the sky is definitely a lie. So if you can imagine like this sun, this white sun, but it's sort of engulfed and encapsulated. So what you're looking at as the sky, whatever you see as the limit of it, this thing is around that. And it's that blank white. This is the hard part. But beyond that, I was shown as well. The closest is that little meme, which I seem to remember is within the intro sequence on a lot of the Archaics videos, of that man that's sort of popping his head out from the firmament and seeing beyond the stars and things. That's the closest analogy I could give you. But what is out there, this is where I'm really struggling to describe, because to describe anything in this reality is by comparison to something else. So I'm faced with something where there is nothing in this physical reality to actually compare to. The closest I can give you in a physical sense would be, it's like some kind of circuit board with components, but that is totally inadequate. I cannot find words at the moment. Maybe they will come as well. When the time is right, it will come and I'll be able to explain it. Or maybe another will have that similar experience and then be able to define it better in words. It wouldn't matter what verbal language I'm speaking, none of them would be sufficient to describe something that is seemingly outside of this reality. Seeing it from the perspective of a physical being in this reality, don't forget, because this is all being shown in the mind's eye, whether it be envisioning something you wish to create or being shown something. It would seem to be out there, but obviously it's not out there. It's contained within a small firmament, a small dome, which that's basically, it's not only upside down world and inside out world. It's probably the origin of the TARDIS, the blue police box in the science fiction series Doctor Who, where the inside is bigger than the outside. It's basically, how far can you stretch your imagination? What is also coming out, I'm very grateful, I think that the name was Ryan, who sent me or alerted me to a song by Dios called I Could Have Been a Dreamer. I have listened to the song once. Effectively, it's talking about a missed potential. Like I say, I've only listened to the song once. I could have been a dreamer. I could have been the one to fly. It's a metaphorical message. And I would say pretty much, what you're faced with here is an art spirit that expresses it through art. Why is it you have to penetrate deeper? To me, this makes absolute sense. How can I explain this? Imagine the sort of inner standing of this reality as it is now, and seeing how we are co-creators and can co-create. Had I had all this knowledge, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, the 30-year ago version of this physical avatar would have been, I'm going to have a mansion, I'm going to have a really nice brand new Maserati or a fleet of Maseratis, I'm going to have a chauffeur, I'm not even going to have to drive, because I've got this power, I can now amass all these material things. That is why there's this like firewall and this requirement to see beyond the superficial, the exterior level of everything, to penetrate, to be able to see what is beyond the sky, for example, to consider what is below your two soles on the bottoms of your feet. The fascination is always with up there since time immemorial, of heavens and stars. This was something I was going to do as a separate video, but I feel it's appropriate to go into this now. Rudolf Steiner talks of when you go through the process of death, i.e. when spirit separates from matter, you have a life review that plays out backwards. So a question I am putting from this is, what if the astrology and tarot card readings and any other type of reading, what if it is giving you the in the moment in those readings? Obviously, if they're general readings, then you're always going to find things you can say, that bit applies, that resonates, that must mean this, that I can associate with whatever it is that happens in your life from the messages in those readings. But what if that script is all in the now moment? So the advice or whatever is being shown in both the astrology and readings is the next step, but in reverse. Though I know that's a very difficult concept to even contemplate because of the magnitude, the multiplicity of the interweaving, the interdependence between all of us, the interactions we have, and each decision, each step we take in whatever direction is going to completely change trajectories continuously. But what if it follows the same pattern, the same blueprint? Because everything seems to have a blueprint and a pattern and blueprint. Thinking of the sky again and coming back to blue, blue, electric blue. That's the colour of my room where I will live. Nothing to lose, nothing to say is also a lyric in that same song, Sound and Vision. Well, you haven't got anything to lose. You've got everything to gain. Let's cut right down to the chase of this. There is a huge potential to do something that hasn't been done before. That is to take the next step in the spiritual evolution of humanity. That requires going through some very unpleasant experiences, namely facing your inner self, facing that version of yourself from 2 or 3 decades ago and how that would react and what that would do compared to the knowledge you have now and the experiences you have gained, whether you see them as mistakes or things being done to you. That's just purely perception. It's not being done to you. If everything is a reflection, it is all being done for you. Remember, for is a door. When your perception, which comes often in retrospect of past events and experiences, and it's like, aha, now I see why that happened when it did, why things played out when they did. The encounters I have had with people that would seem not so favourable have been the greatest teachers. To create what is often described as going into a Jupiterian age or the next development of humanity, the stepping into the 5th dimension, simply requires imagination. It's also an energetic exchange. It requires that 3 steps of being open to the possibility. I could have been a dreamer. To have it as a concept. This is nothing original that I'm saying here. I'm reiterating as much as anything else what Neville Goddard says. I'm reiterating in different words from what Jason says in really what is his finest works, his playlist. It's not the Chronicon, it's We the Immortals. That is the real key. That is the deal breaker. No one is going to get through, and it's not. This is the beauty of this whole thing. It won't be because of any external force. It won't be through coercion as such. It will be down to each individual and what they place as possible or not possible, therefore creating their own gatekeeper of their mind. That is where the judgment and everything else happens. It's not some vengeful, wrathful God. You are God. I have described this as Eunice. It hadn't occurred to me. I knew that brass was the compound of 2 metals, and I've forgotten the name again. It was in the comment of a previous video, but it represents Jupiter and Venus. Now, coincidence that I said what has communicated with me is Junus. Can you see Junus? No, it's what I would call hyperether. There is a pattern to everything, so coming into this physical reality comes with a huge price of being put through the restrictions of the physicality. So you're no longer a free spirit, you are limited to what each physical body is capable of doing. So forget about flying. Again, it comes back to that song. I could have been a dreamer. I could have been the one to fly. So you won't see Junus as such come into a physical form, apart from this cat here. They're getting bigger and bigger. And they're doing the sensible thing. It's the hottest part of the day, so they have a long siesta. And they do come to life earlier. They're climbing on everything as a little side note. I'm sorry this has become rather a meandering, quite a multi-topic, and yet not really a multi-topic video. Because to step into this new reality, to put it in the way Jason talks about it, and it's also spoken about in the Bible, about getting a new garment, your real body, not these avatars. Imagine how that would be, because the feelings in this body, it's like, I know what a push bike is uphill. Gone are the days when I can cycle up a hill. It's like, especially in this heat. So a new garment would be most welcome, and that's something definitely to aim for. And of course, who wants to be, it's all right being all one, but who wants to be alone? To step into a new reality, you wouldn't want to be there on your own. It will be no fun. There'll be no one to share it with, the experience with. But the key to what is going to get any of you through into this new reality, as the way I've spoken about it, of doing the Mary Celeste and just ghosting out of this reality. Oh, excuse me. That's the body telling. Yes, it's the smoking, I admit it, but it is what it is, and I don't feel the inclination to give up. It's free will, nothing can be interfered with. That's another absolute of this reality. Yes, there is coercion. Yes, there is confusion. But it is all part of a brilliant plan, because it is all about growth, spiritual growth, of flowering, of finding that true you, that essence at the core that is right at the center of your heart. That is the real you. It is opening up the channel with that I'm sure most of you got the perception that everything seems stacked against you in this reality. And if you're to believe all the fear stories, and I don't even want to get into this, about just food, for example, processed food in particular, all the things that seem to be harmful, and yet we still survive, we get through them. Yes, over the long term it may have a detrimental effect to these physical avatars, but I suppose that's saying, who wants to live forever? Really. To me, this feels like it should have been a holodeck, somewhere to experience the physical, and there's a cog missing or slightly out of place in the mechanism. But I'm going with the idea that out of it we can replicate exactly what a cell does, and a new cell is formed from the old cell. It splits into two. I feel that is also an analogy when talking about creating a new Earth. And I do feel that we will vibrate out of this frequency, and it won't really look any different, but it will be different because the old structures of government, local government, will be gone. Had anybody been able to get through that has not done that inner work, that still has even the smallest trace of unacknowledged fear, it's not about getting rid of the fear, it's getting all the emotions on side so you're all pulling together within one, rather than having fear trying to pull you in a different direction, and say the ego is wanting to go somewhere else from even the fear, and you feel torn and split, fractalized. But when you can harness it all, because what sort of world would be created without any local government, without any structure as it is now? Would it not just go back into that Mad Max world with gangs that are out for themselves? That is the key that will decide who is going through and who is not. And it is all from each individual as to whether they have faced their inner self, they have gone into the abyss, which is the eternal. The abyss is going to the deepest, darkest depths of your soul. And when you feel triggered, that's the point when you say, okay, I feel triggered, I acknowledge the feeling. Now I need to address, where is that feeling coming from? What is causing that sensation? Mastering it, so it becomes like a petition to the government. Certain cells of your body are now giving you a petition. The government, your one true government, where you can acknowledge and listen to that petition. But you can say, yes, but from a higher perspective and based on the personal experience, we've been here before, we felt the same feeling of fear, and did we come to any harm? We've gone through the experience, we know how to address it this time round. We are armed, as it were, through the experience to now step into the unknown. And that is what it is going to be like. I can describe it as being looking exactly like this. I don't know exactly, because I haven't actually done it. But I can see the potential. It's like there's a tear in the veil, and I'm looking through it. I'm saying, yeah, it's pretty much like this. And it is beautiful when you're out in nature. And it does seem to be a copy of something, but there's been things introduced in it that are not. But what if that can be changed? I feel this is perfectly achievable and can be done, and I'm asking for you to really consider this. Consider what you wish to see in the future. What world you wish to create. I'm offering, painting a picture of how it could be. So imagine a certain number have stepped through into this new world. So there is no marauding gangs. There's now that awareness and being in service of others. So if there is an abundance and a surplus, then you just give it to the neighbouring community. Because people will naturally form in communities. You'll be on the same wavelengths and things, and it will just happen as like a natural process. Whether it's with these actual physical bodies or a real physical body, not one that's attached to this reality, that remains, key word there, to be seen. But I feel it's a wonder to wonder about, and if it's already created in the mind, I now have to see this through. So I'm putting it out there because it is planting seeds. I am trying to create a garden, you could say, a new Garden of Eden, in a metaphorical sense. So may the seeds that I'm casting out here fall on fertile soil, and we achieve this new world with at least the greater part of the unpleasantries gone, if not completely eliminated. But I also accept there has to be contrast in a realm that has a perception of duality which is required to find the balance between the two. So maybe this new world will find that balance between the two. What challenges it comes with, I've no idea. And that's all part of the fun. That's where I can hand over to the childlike wonder and start a new life in a new world. So it will be a childlike wonder because it will be a whole new experience. How does that sound to you? As always, unconditional love to you all.